When I started remembering, everything made sense. I was laying out name cards when Lucas walked in. His shoes were wet from the rain, but his hair looked like he'd just stepped out of a salon. He carried that posture, the kind you only develop after years of being told you were never wrong. He didn't say hello, didn't offer to help. He just stared at the table with the cold, casual judgment of someone inspecting damage, not contribution. I held up 2 cards, one for Ashley, one for me, and was about to place them side by side at the head table when he said it. "You're not sitting at the table with my mom." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't blink. It wasn't said in anger. That would have at least implied emotion. This wasn't emotion. This was procedure. A boundary drawn in granite. His tone didn't allow for clarification or negotiation. The verdict had been decided long before he said it out loud. I kept holding the cards. "Excuse me?" He didn't even look at me when he repeated it. "You're not sitting at the same table as my mom tomorrow. Don't make this weird." He walked past me then. Not around, past. Close enough for me to feel the heat from his body, but without a single glance in my direction. His shoulder brushed mine, but not by accident. He wanted the contact, not as connection as erasure. I put the cards down. Not where they belonged. Not anywhere. I walked into the study, sat at the desk where I had planned the last 4 weeks of his engagement celebration, and opened my laptop. First, I logged into the catering system, canceled the order, deleted my card information. Then the florist gone. The event space revoked. The custom lights I had personally chosen and paid the rush fee for, order canceled. Last, the backup bakery, which I had scheduled in secret just in case the main one flaked. One by one, each payment fell away like dust from a dying structure. Then I typed one message to Ashley. "It's your dinner now." I didn't wait for a reply. Closed the lid. Sat back. The silence was sudden and surgical. The kind that only settles over a man who just realized how far gone things truly are. When I walked into the kitchen the next morning, I found nothing. Not in the dramatic sense. I mean literally. The counters were empty. No coffee. No cereal. Not even bread in the drawer. Not even crumbs. The fridge was a museum of cold air and expired condiments. You'd think we were moving out. But we weren't moving. Only I was. That morning, I poured a cup of water, sat in the breakfast nook, the one I had built with my own hands, and let the realization settle. I had become a stranger in my own home. It didn't happen all at once. No clean break. It was gradual erosion disguised as compromise. When I met Ashley, she was already raising 3 kids, Lucas, Bree, and Tyler. Their father, Jack, had moved to California to figure things out, which meant he visited twice a year. Christmas and the summer long enough to take photos and leave. They hadn't seen him sober in the last 3 visits, but he was still dad. I stepped into their lives as a partner, but I chose to be more. I chose father, and for a while it worked. I fixed their bikes, took them to school, stayed up late helping Bree with science projects she didn't even remember to turn in. Picked Tyler up from baseball even when Ashley forgot to remind me. We watched old movies, built birdhouses, carved pumpkins together in the garage. They used to hug me goodnight. They used to call me Dad. First, it felt warm, real. I let myself believe they saw me, not as a placeholder but as presence, as family. But then came the small withdrawals. Lucas flinched when I called him son, said it was weird. Bree stopped asking me for help with her music. I found out from Ashley that she had started messaging Jack. He'd sent her some cash and promised her a new guitar. Tyler, my shadow, the one who used to run into my arms when I came home, started calling me by my first name. Not Dad. Not even Brian. Just, hey. The shift wasn't loud. It was gradual, passive, like someone turning down the volume on your existence, one notch at a time. I told myself it was just a phase, that teenagers are moody, hormonal, that they'd grow out of it. But I kept showing up, kept paying, kept hoping. Ashley? She noticed. She always noticed. But she said nothing. Not once did she pull them aside. Not once did she say, "This man keeps us whole." Not once did she defend me. Her silence was too practiced to be accidental. She let the distance happen because the absence made her job easier. No conflict, no confrontation, just convenience. That's what I was. Convenient. The man with the card. The ride to practice. The third adult in a house that already had a ghost father and a mother too tired to fight. But what Lucas said, what he did, was not convenience. It was command. He wasn't just excluding me from a table. He was declaring war. And the part that made my stomach turn wasn't that he meant it. It's that he knew he could say it without consequence. He knew Ashley wouldn't stop him. He knew I'd show up anyway. I had trained them to believe that no matter how cruel they were, I would stay. They provide. I think that was the moment something inside me died. Not in a dramatic way. No flames. No screaming. Just silence. I remembered every birthday I planned. Every trip I funded. Every scraped knee I kissed. Every college form I filled out when Jack was too drunk to even text back. And I remembered that none of it mattered. Not to them. Not even to her. So I sat there, watching the slow light of morning creep through the window, and I thought, if I'm not allowed at the table I paid for, in the house I rebuilt for the family I chose, then maybe it's not my house anymore. Maybe it never was. And suddenly everything made sense. What their love really cost me. The house didn't fall silent. It grew louder, just not in sound. The next day, Bree texted me. Not to ask what happened. Not to check if I was okay. Just one line, perfectly sterile. You were always just Mom's boyfriend. Never really family. No signature. No goodbye. Lucas didn't text. He emailed. Attached an invoice for his fiancée's dress. Custom fitted. Pale silk. Imported lace. $1,300. No message. No greeting. Just the bill and the quiet assumption that I'd cover it. Like always, Tyler didn't reach out. No message. No call. But 3 days later, while cleaning out the workshop, I found a printout stuffed behind the old tool chest. A group chat conversation between the three of them. I don't know how it got there. Maybe Bree printed it for something and forgot. Maybe Ashley left it behind after trying to intervene and gave up. They called me the sponsor. Not stepdad. Not Brian. Just the sponsor. Lucas. Sponsor paid for the lights, LOL. Bree. As long as he signs the checks, who cares? Tyler, he's not our dad. He's just the credit card. My hand trembled holding the paper. Not from rage. Not even grief. Just exhaustion. It was there in black and white. Not whispered, not implied, but typed out with laughter and ease. I was a resource. A wallet in a human suit. Not a man. Not family. And Ashley? Ashley said nothing. That part, that silence, is what finalized it for me. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't rebellion. This wasn't teenagers being cruel. This was the final chapter in a long con I had been part of for years. A role I auditioned for, performed perfectly, and never realized had already been cast as a backup. An extra. A body to fill the space Jack left behind, as long as I didn't try to be anything more. That night I didn't eat. I didn't drink. I didn't even move. I sat in the workshop, not out of dramatic protest, but because it was the only place in the house untouched by them. No fingerprints. No laughter soaked into the wood. Just sawdust and receipts. So many receipts. I started collecting them. Not emotionally. Literally. I opened the drawer where I kept my tax folders. Pulled out every proof of payment. Every bank printout. Every transaction that had built their lives. I spread them out across the workbench like evidence in a trial no one else would ever attend. Tyler's SAT tutoring, $6,500. Bree's guitar and private lessons, $3,200. Lucas' 21st birthday Rolex, $3,000, engraved with his initials and a date I now regret remembering. Bree's senior trip to New York, $2,800. Tyler's car repairs, $1,400. Lucas' apartment rent when he got fired, 3 months, $3,900. Family beach house last summer, $4,200. Emergency vet visit for Bree's dog, $950. I kept going. Year by year. line by line, not for revenge, for clarity. The total was just under $240,000. $240,000. Enough for a down payment on a second home. Enough to start a business. Enough to retire 10 years early if I lived quietly. Gone. Not spent. Burned. And the ash of it was their contempt. They had lived inside my sacrifice, worn it like a second skin, and spat on the hand that built it. Ashley's contribution? Some words once in a while. Some S*X on anniversaries. Some worried glances when the kids said something too sharp, but never words to stop them. Never lines drawn. She said to me once, "You work too hard. They don't even notice." She was right. They didn't, but neither did she. And I kept wondering, what exactly had I bought with all that money? Respect? No. Loyalty? No. Family? Not even close. I bought my own erasure. That's what I paid for. A man can endure disrespect. A man can weather silence. But what I saw in those texts and what I didn't see from Ashley, that was erasure. That was confirmation. I didn't matter. Not to the kids. Not to the woman I married. Not to the house I paid for. I was the scaffolding they used to reach a life they believed was theirs by birthright. And now that they were nearly grown, nearly out, nearly self-sustaining, I wasn't needed anymore. That's when I made the decision. Not loud. Not angry. Not vengeful. Silent. Surgical. Final. I would withdraw. Not just money, presence. I would let the structure collapse. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I had finally learned what they were without me. And I wanted them to learn it too. So I stopped. I stopped being the sponsor. And I started being nothing. When the money stopped, the truth came out. I didn't tell them. I didn't send a warning. Didn't schedule a talk. Didn't draft some righteous speech about boundaries and respect. I just pulled the plug. It was a simple thing. Log into the accounts. Click, click, gone. The catering service paused the invoice. The restaurant sent a curt reminder that the final deposit was overdue. The event planner, the one Ashley had insisted wasn't necessary, but leaned on anyway, sent 2 messages, then a refund estimate. The custom lights company left a voicemail, polite but firm. I listened to it in full, then deleted it. The storm hit faster than I expected. Ashley was the first wave. Her voice on the phone casual at first. "Hey babe, did the restaurant charge you already? They said something was missing." I didn't lie. I canceled everything. Silence. A beat. Then, "You? Canceled?" "Yes." "Why?" "You know why." She didn't reply. Just hung there, quiet on the line like a ghost trying to decide if it should haunt the place or move on. The next call came from Lucas. Not a message. A call. That alone told me he was scared. I didn't answer. The voicemail came 2 minutes later, full of noise. Chairs scraping. Someone in the background asking about floral arrangements. His voice was loud, unfiltered. "You ruined everything. Do you hear me? The best day of our lives gone. What the hell is wrong with you?" He sounded unhinged. Not angry. Entitled. Like a man screaming at a vending machine for not dispensing the candy he shook loose himself. I played that message 4 times. Each time I listened not for the words, but for what wasn't there. "No, I'm sorry. No, can we talk? No, I didn't mean it." Just rage. Just blame. As if I had no right to stop feeding the thing that had eaten me whole. I sent 1 text in reply. "You said I'm not sitting at the table with your mom. I'm not paying to sit anywhere else either." He never responded. Bree's message came next. Short. Bitter. "This is why we never wanted you around." Not even a full sentence. Just a dagger. Clean and sharp. I read it once. Deleted it. Not because it hurt. Because it proved my point. Tyler? Still nothing. He remained silent, just like Ashley. But I knew where he stood. I didn't need a message. The proof was in the absence. And in the group chat I had found. The next 48 hours unfolded like a collapse in slow motion. The bakery pulled out. No refund. Just a polite email and a forwarded policy document about non-refundable deposits. The Airbnb for their out-of-town guests was cancelled. I got the cancellation confirmation, not Ashley, me, because I had booked it under my name. The restaurant sent a final email. No payment, no event. Final warning. It felt like watching a tower fall. Not from an earthquake, but from rot at the foundation. Rot I had covered up for years. Ashley texted me late that night. They're devastated. I stared at those 2 words for a long time, then typed back, so was I. She never replied. A day later, I found out Jack had resurfaced. Of course he had. Their real father, the man with the DNA but none of the debt. The man who only showed up when it cost nothing. He'd been spotted at a barbecue with Lucas and Bree. All smiles, all performance. Someone sent me a photo. I didn't ask who. He was wearing the watch I bought him. The one he gave to Lucas. Even that was recycled. Word spread that Jack was stepping in to fix it. That he was going to help throw something together. A casual engagement picnic. Nothing fancy. Just something to celebrate the couple. I smiled when I heard that. Not bitter. Not angry. Just quiet. Because I knew what something casual meant. Paper plates. Soda in plastic cups. A store-bought cake. And no bills covered. Because Jack couldn't cover them. He was showing up for the pictures, not the payments. But here's the truth. I didn't gloat. I didn't laugh. I didn't text Ashley and say, "Told you so." I just watched. From the sidelines. For the first time in years, I wasn't the one scrambling to fix things. I wasn't the man duct taping their life back together before the cracks showed. I wasn't the emergency fund, the contingency plan, the convenient ghost who filled in the gaps. I was just still. And in that stillness, I saw everything clearly. They weren't angry because I canceled the dinner. They were angry because I broke the spell. The illusion that they could treat me like garbage and still expect the world in return. The unspoken contract that I would stay, pay, and obey. Even while they erased me from every table, every title, every photo. Ashley's silence? That was her signature. Her approval. She didn't stop them. She didn't defend me. She watched. And now I was watching too. But I was no longer looking through the lens of sacrifice. I was looking through the lens of cost. What it cost me to show up every day in a house where my presence was a burden, and my absence would only be noticed when the Wi-Fi stopped working. What it cost to love children who held the memory of another man closer than the actions of the one who stayed. What it cost to be the foundation of a life that no one believed you were part of. And what it would finally cost them to lose it. Because they did. The dinner never happened. The celebration turned into a picnic at a public park. No venue. No lights. No centerpieces. No catered meals or violin trio. Just a cheap tablecloth on a park bench and lukewarm pasta salad in plastic containers. Bree posted a photo. No captions. No smiles. Just Lucas and his fiancée next to a congratulations balloon that was already deflating. I looked at it for a long time. Then I closed the app. Closed the laptop. Closed the door to the workshop. And stood still. Not defeated. Not broken. Free. Because for once, no one expected me to fix anything. And in that stillness, I found what years of effort never gave me. Clarity. I walked away to survive. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It wasn't Lucas banning me from the table. It wasn't Bree's text, or Tyler's silence, or even Ashley's complicity. The hardest part was realizing how long I'd stayed after I was already gone. I moved out 1 week later. No fight. No screaming match. No dramatic final dinner. Just a folded note left on the kitchen counter and my key beside it. The note read, "I didn't leave you. I left what you made me become. I didn't pack everything. Just the essentials. A few clothes. My tools. A stack of folders marked with bills I no longer wanted to carry. I left the rest, the photos, the gifts, the little carvings we made in the early years because those weren't mine anymore. Not really. They were tokens of a lie I'd kept alive far too long. The apartment over the garage wasn't much. Single room. Cracked tile. An old couch someone left behind years ago. But it was quiet. Clean. And most important, it was mine. No one rolled their eyes when I spoke. No one laughed behind closed doors. No one waited for my wallet while pretending I wasn't part of the conversation. Just silence. God, I didn't realize how much I needed silence. Ashley came by once. She didn't knock. Just let herself in. Still had the key. She stood in the doorway like someone trying to recognize a ghost. Her face said everything. Confusion, fatigue, maybe even guilt, though she'd never say it out loud. "You're really walking away from all this?" she asked. "All what?" I replied. She gestured vaguely. "The family, the life." I looked at her, and for the first time I didn't soften. I didn't reach across the gap and try to make her feel safe. "I'm not walking away," I said. "I just stopped paying for what was breaking me." She didn't argue. She didn't cry. She left, and I stayed. In that room, with the faint smell of sawdust from my toolbox, and the echo of every promise I had kept when no one asked me to. For the first few nights, I didn't sleep well. Not because I missed them, but because my body didn't know how to stop bracing for the next insult, the next oversight, the next dismissal masked as a joke. It takes time to unlearn pain that comes disguised as routine. But slowly I adjusted. I made coffee without someone asking if I'd remembered Bree's lactose-free creamer. I watched the news without Lucas muttering how boring I was. I left my shoes by the door without hearing Tyler sigh like I'd committed a crime. The quiet became a balm. Freedom isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just not being interrupted. Sometimes it's not budgeting your entire paycheck around other people's expectations. Not listening to your own wife explain your worth in soft, diplomatic half-sentences. It's the absence of constant performance. Because that's what I had been doing. Performing. For years. Performing the role of dad without the title, without the love, without the respect. Being the backup generator no one thinks about until the lights go out. Now the lights were out and I was gone. The first time I went grocery shopping, I paused in the bread aisle and felt something strange. Relief. I didn't have to buy 3 different brands anymore. Didn't have to calculate who liked sourdough and who preferred rye. I could just buy what I liked. Wheat. Simple. Cheap. Mine. That night, I made a grilled cheese sandwich and ate it standing over the sink. And I swear, it tasted better than any meal I'd shared with that family in the last 5 years. Because it wasn't about the sandwich. It was about the absence of unspoken resentment at the table. The silence where judgment used to live. I wasn't a father anymore. Not to them. But I was something I hadn't been in a long time. Whole. People talk about revenge like it's an event. Like it's loud, messy, cinematic. But the truth is, the best revenge is subtraction. Removing yourself from the equation and watching everything they built on your back collapse under its own weight. I didn't do it to hurt them. I did it because if I didn't, I would have disappeared entirely. They would have hollowed me out, year by year, name by name, until I was nothing but receipts and a chair at the end of the table no one looked at. So I left. I didn't burn the house down. I didn't slam the door. I didn't scream. I just stopped being the man they could count on after they counted me out. That's not cruelty. That's survival. A few weeks passed. Then came the ripple. The restaurant filed a formal complaint against Ashley for breach of contract. Lucas tried to get a refund from the dressmaker and failed. Bree sold the guitar I bought her. I know because I saw the listing, the same serial number, same case, same initials carved inside the neck. B. M. H. Brian Mark Harris. It sold for $400. I paid $1,700. Tyler emailed me once. Said he needed a recommendation letter. College applications. His deadline was 2 days away. I stared at that email for a long time. He didn't ask how I was. Didn't apologize. Didn't even call me by name. Just hey. As if nothing had happened. As if I hadn't disappeared from his life 3 weeks ago. I replied with one line. Ask your dad. He didn't write back. Ashley sent one message after that. It just said, was it really that bad? I didn't respond. Because the question wasn't for me. It was for her. She had watched it all unfold. Had the chance to stop it. Chose not to. Not once did she say, these kids are being cruel. Not once did she tell them, This man saved our lives. So now she's left with the echoes. And I'm left with something better. Peace. Not happiness. Not yet. That comes later, maybe. Maybe not. But peace, the kind that grows in the hollow of silence, is a seed. And I'm planting it every day. You see, when you spend years convincing yourself that love will make them change, you forget to ask what you're changing into. I looked in the mirror one morning, in that tiny bathroom above the garage, and I barely recognized myself. But then I smiled, because for the first time, I saw a man who wasn't being consumed. A man who didn't need to be called Dad to know he was worthy. A man who walked away not to punish, but to breathe. So don't ask me if I was right. Don't ask me if I was cruel. Because sometimes the only way to teach people what they had is to leave them in a house with no bread and the memory of the man who carried them through it all.